There's something timeless about a bottle. It holds more than liquid. It carries a place, a season, a memory, a celebration, a quiet moment, a story waiting to be opened. Welcome to Bottled Stories. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Bottled Stories podcast. Today, we're going to have a little chat with a good friend and one of the country's leading sommeliers. This is Luigi Coco from the Cove at Atlantis. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
I guess we'll just sort of jump right into this. So get a little bit of background. I guess what you do, but also how did you end up in this position? Like, what was it about being in this industry that made you want to jump head on and head halfway across the world in order to pursue a career in it?
Okay, so maybe I'm gonna start like from the roots.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah. Everything started when I finished school, right? You know, like whenever you finish school, the first job that you find also. At the time, I was actually working with my father, which is a gardener, landscaping, you know. But during the weekend, just to put some money on the side, I was working on in a pub on my hometown. So during the weekend, I was just doing a few hours there, like just to round up a bit of money. And there I discovered starting to work with bottles, spirits, and see what was basically behind the label. So I was starting to search, getting information about it, until I had the opportunity to go pack my bag, and then I said like, okay, I wanna just have a bit more freedom. We need to do some rock and roll in my life. So I packed my bag and I went to Scotland. My first experience outside my country was in Edinburgh, at the Rockfort hotels. At that time, I was not even able to speak English. Didn't know anyone. I was just by myself with a few money on my pocket. And then I found this job as a commie, which lasted for about a month. 1 year. Then after a few friends of mine from my hometown, they were in London, and they were actually pushing me to go there because, like, what are you doing there in Edinburgh by yourself? You know, like it's very cold. And then I say, okay, I was 21 at the time. Pack again everything, and then I went to London. In London, the beginning was quite tough because, in London you cannot survive for a long time without a job. So every day I was going in each restaurant, so just giving my CV.
Right.
And until I received this call from the Chiltern Fairhouse. It was a new opening at the time. We're talking about in 2014. It was April 2014. I received this call, and then I started there. I didn't know anything about this place. I started there as a commie. Starting there as a commie, it was a new opening at the time. And Chiltern Fairhouse is basically the twin place of Chateau Marmont in LA. So it was the first place from André Ballas opened in Europe. It was an old firehouse, which it turned into a boutique hotel and restaurant. And starting to work there, I saw this team of sommeliers, which was the first time that I was working with sommeliers. And I was attracted by what they were doing. So I was sometimes in the corner of the kitchen, from the kitchen. I was stopping myself, and then I was watching them.
So you were actually working in the kitchen?
No. I was working as a commie.
Okay.
But I was always going behind the kitchen just to see them,
Right.
like what they were doing, like on the floor. The kitchen at the time was the kitchen at Chiltern Fairhouse was an open kitchen, so you can see from the floor.
Right.
And then when I see like those 4 or 5 sommeliers on the floor jumping all over, making people happy, challenging themselves who was going to open the most prestigious bottle of wine, challenging themselves also with some blind tasting. So I saw sometimes one of them opening a bottle, hiding it, and then giving a glass to the other one just to guess.
Right.
So it was a game, was something amazing that I was I was like, I want to be like them.
Right.
And then on top of it, that wine list over there was a wine list of around 450 labels.
Right.
So you
Substantial.
could yeah, and it was a really good wine list. The most famous producer all around the world. And then I start to see also those different shape of bottles because I'm coming from Sicily, so I never seen a bottle of Riesling, you know.
Right.
So I said like, what is this? And then I started became curious. So I was going to them and then asked them to let me try the wine. And at that time, the head sommelier Romano Giuri, which became a mentor, he come to see me and say like, why are you asking me for some wine? It's like, you just want to try. Are you interested? And then he asked me if I was interested to become a commis sommelier. So learning everything about wine. So I accepted straight away. I accepted straight away even because I was amazed on whenever I was hearing about wine stories from them, the technique that they were using to taste the wine. I say like, this is like talking another language, so I want to talk like them. So step by step, I started also coming. He teach me everything about how to organize the cellar, label everything, maintaining the wine list, changing the wine list. Then step by step, I became sommelier, and then I was on the floor, like them, jumping, enjoying, opening bottle every day, all day. There was, I think, my best working experience because I would do it 100 times again.
Right.
And then on top of it, it gave me the opportunity also to express myself, to meet lots of people in the industry, but also on top, lots of guests coming there. And the beauty of it was when they were coming back and looking for me for a bottle of wine.
Right.
So I actually last there for 5 years, where I started to do my WCT, and then from there, like I never stopped. I still keeping enjoying what I'm doing, opening bottles of wine, making people happy, searching new wines, talking to producer, and because I think it is one of the most amazing job that you can do actually.
It's we talk about it a lot on this podcast about how lucky we are, because there's so many people every day that have to go to work every day and they don't really enjoy it, what they do. Right. This is such an unbelievably fun job to have.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, we always consider ourselves incredibly lucky. It's a lot of work, but
It's a lot of work.
and a lot of learning. I think that's the part that most people underestimate, is just how much learning is involved in actually doing this job well. So I think there's a couple things that I always want to ask people. The first one for sure is like, what is it about wine? What does wine mean to you as far as its contributions? Like, what is it? Why is it so powerful for some people?
I mean, wine for me, whenever you have a glass of wine, always you share with someone, or you can drink it by yourself. But in the meantime, I always believe the wine is giving you, is making you a memory, you know. So every time you open a bottle of wine, it's for an occasion. Even if we just met a friend, is a sharing moment. So it's the kind of wine is so powerful because uh, it make you not forget the moment when you open the bottle. And on top of it, wine is everything. Whenever you open a bottle of wine, you can talk about the stories behind the wine. You can talk about the taste. You can talk about geography. So like wines is a moment where you actually have a conversation and you share your knowledge. Uh, but it's not just about the wine. It can be about personal life.
Yeah.
So it can touch every single.
Yeah.
Um,
We had a
every,
really interesting, we saw a really interesting conversation one time, and it was, there was a gentleman who was hosting kind of a wine program, kind of like this, but they were actually in Georgia,
Mhm.
kind of the birthplace of wine. And he asked, sitting at a table full of winemakers, and he asked the winemaker, he's like, this is a wine documentary, and we haven't once talked about the wine. And the winemaker said, the wine already did its job.
Mhm.
It brought you here,
Yeah.
all the way to Georgia, to talk about wine.
Yeah.
So the wine did its job already. Now it's up to us to have a conversation.
Exactly.
But wine is just the social lubricant of the situation.
Exactly.
And I always found that really fascinating. I mean, we're always super passionate about the history and the stories, and we built our portfolio around people, not brand names, which is a huge thing for us. When you are choosing wine, for two reasons, there's obviously going to be two different answers for this. But I mean, when you're building out your list,
Yeah.
are you looking for names or are you looking for wines?
Okay. So my system how to make a wine list. I always start from the selection by the glass. Okay.
Right.
So first of all, I need to see where I am and what kind of business is around the restaurants where I am. Right. It's an Italian restaurant. First of all, it's a Greek restaurant. So you need to build up authenticity of the wine list. So you pick your wines by the glass. Can be 5 reds, 5 whites, 4 reds, 4 whites. You do a couple of champagne, a couple of sparkling wine by the glass, and then you put like 1, 2, 3 dessert wine, right? The When I build the wine list, first of all, I look at how can I have a well-balanced wine list, right? So, of course, it's gonna be sometimes my wine list. When I create a wine list, sometimes they are more focused on French wine, or could be more Italian wine if we are in an Italian restaurant, okay, or Spanish wine if we are in a Spanish restaurant. But you need to have always a global representation of the wine of the wines in your list. Then you put I actually focus on the types of grape variety. Then the name is coming in a second place,
Right.
because I love to see different local grape varieties whenever you represent a region. The names, it's good to have like some international names, big names where you can actually recognize. Of course, whenever we are talking about famous winery, prices goes up.
Exactly.
But it's good to have like some small producers, like something that makes you curious, like on trying with a much more affordable price.
Right.
So like that, you can balance it out also from new discoveries and classics. So wine list, whenever you make, is always about balance on price, balance on winemakers, producers, new generation producers, which like they make fantastic wines, really something really interesting. But the grape variety is what I love, to have a good representation of different grape variety on the wine list.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a really good way to go about it. I think we pretty much did the same thing when we built out our list at Flying Fish. It's really about just representation, but also education.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we all know 99% of the people who walk in the door don't know anything about anything when it comes to wine. So it's kind of like you're throwing all of these grape varieties on a wine list,
Mhm.
and 99% of the people won't even know what they are. Right.
No.
So we see it all the time. We have people come into the shop all the time, and they didn't know there was more than 4 grape varieties. And half the time, they don't actually know that that's actually the grape.
Yeah.
You know, I think obviously like in the restaurants where you are currently running all of these programs, I think you probably have a little more knowledgeable like clientele just because of the price point that you're working at, than like kind of we do in our little wine store, right? It's where anybody can walk in off the street. It's a little different than being in a luxury resort with the really high end restaurants of the resort. So you get a little bit more leeway with than we kind of do sometimes. But I think the cool part about indigenous grape varieties is the authenticity of it.
Yeah, I agree with it. I start to introduce like also some Greek wines, that are not very common to see in the wine list. If you write down something like Sino Mavro, Mavro Dragano, those are indigenous grape variety from Greece. I was actually surprised that people actually coming to you and say like,
Wanna
what
try
this
them.
is,
Yeah.
what this is, explain me more.
Yeah.
So they start more quite often with the Sirtico, which is the most approachable. But then if you go into the red and then you talk about Sino Mavro, then you start to explain that it does have like similar characteristic than a Barolo, for instance, because of the Nebbiolo grape variety is very similar to it. So you actually introduce them to try something different, a much more approachable price, but with quality also in the same time.
Right.
And then you open their mind.
Yeah.
You open their mind because you let them discover something that they never tried. That's why our job as a sommelier should be staying on the floor and let them and give them an experience of something different where they can actually enjoy and they will never forget.
Right. So at the other end of that spectrum, how do you deal with the customer who thinks they know a lot about wine, but only wants one thing?
Well, there are different types of guests. Like the good things about, being on the floor is giving you lots of experience on reading the guest.
Right.
So you always find the guests that want to show off, in front of the people. So he just like say, "Oh, call me the sommelier. I want this." He's just trying to give you some information just to get the attention of everyone. So I let them do. Like I just play the game. Or there are people that, of course, as you say, like they actually go always for the same thing, which we cannot do anything about it. If they want to go just for their own decision, they don't want any type of recommendation. At the end of the day, our job is to make them happy.
Yeah.
So we just can drive them if they are open to try something different, that they wanna listen for some more information about the wine.
Yeah.
If they feel comfortable with what they've been drinking for all time, well, you cannot do anything about it.
Yeah. We had it's a funny story from when we had the original version of Flying Fish years and years ago, where a gentleman had come in, a much older gentleman. And this was quite a while ago. So Rebecca looked quite young. She's fairly small to begin with. So she looked quite young on the floor, and she walked over to the gentleman who was looking at the wine list and asked, would you like any assistance or anything? I can walk you through the list and help you find something that you're looking for. And he just sort of scoffed, who's this young girl telling me
What to do
about wine? Like, it's like, I've drank more wine than you've ever seen in your life, kind of an attitude. And then, obviously the retort is, well, I wrote the wine list, so I know I've tasted every wine on the list. So if you want a little bit of guidance, we're happy to help you out. He didn't want any guidance. Then chose whatever it was that he chose, and then realized by the end of it that the wine that he picked was, it was something he didn't really know 100%. And then so called her back over, and then they ended up having a very long conversation about wine, the winemaking, the
Yeah,
history, the stories, and literally changed his whole perception
of course.
of what he could have expected out of this whole thing. And I think it's fascinating that wine has the power to do something like that. For you, what was the wine that changed your life?
Well, I think you mentioned it already one in your podcast. I when I did an article in London, as I mentioned before, there was like those for at the time strange shape of bottles of wine, very tall, from Grunebertliner Riesling, and uh, uh, and the bottle of Knoll Grunebertliner Loenberg 2013. When I tasted it, was something that I never tried in my life. uh, the spiciness, the white pepper, the concentration, but still the freshness, the minerality on it. I cannot explain.
Yeah.
And another wine that I can never forget, it was when I went to Egon Müller in Moselle region in Germany, and so he was there actually, and we were going in the middle of the vineyard of Schatzhofberger. When we went back to the winery, there was a lunch with all other sommelier, and then at the end with dessert, he went downstairs in the cellar. He come back with a magnum of 1976 Trockenbeerenauslese Schatzhofberger. That wine was actually dark like this table, more or less, but it was an explosion of flavor. Explosion of flavor. It was the wine I can never forget. Actually one of those wines that make you cry almost, because the feeling that you have whenever you taste something like that is unbelievable. I will never forget that.
Well, and I mean, it's probably one of the rarest bottles of wine in the world.
It was with a value of around $6,000 already from the winery, so
Right.
imagine.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What was not just the most influential bottle, but what's the best bottle of wine you think you've ever had?
I think that's
one?
that one. This is one of the best bottles that I had in my life. It was the bottle that there was a feeling in there. It was not a wine.
Yeah. Sweet wines can have that effect on people, and it's really interesting because most really serious wine drinkers tend to not drink sweet wine for the most part, but they always can tell a good one.
Yeah.
Most sweet wine in the world is fake. It's all, it's basically trash, chemical made, under $10 a bottle, kind of, fake sugar, fake acid powder, trying to give you some balance, all of that kind of nonsense. So when you actually get a really good bottle of wine that has got sweetness to it, it gives you like these incredible depth of layers to sort through.
Yeah.
Which I always find incredible. Like things like obviously Sauterne, and we're fortunate enough, like I think 3 times or 4 times this year in Paris was Bonneau, the Chenin Blanc sweet wines from the Loire Valley, and we ended up. I have no idea how, but we ended up getting gifted a Magnum of 2011.
Nice.
For the dinner that we were hosting, which we do every year at Wine Paris. We hosted a dinner for all of our producers and everybody that's there, and we ended up getting an incredible bottle, and we shared it with everybody. And most of them these are all wine professionals, most of them winemakers, and almost none of them had ever had the sweet Chenin Blanc before, and it was fascinating because the look on their face as obviously. Shannon's a great to begin with, but especially when they get old, they have that kind of beeswaxy, kind of really interesting texture to them. But then with that level of sweetness on it too, it's just takes it to a whole different level. What's the oldest bottle of wine you ever had? That one as well, 76.
No. I had something older. It was Chateau Calon Ségur, 62.
Wow.
That was the oldest bottle of wine that I had. It actually was a guest which he took this bottle in the restaurant, and then I had a glass of it. It was exceptional, and I was surprised how much Bordeaux wines they lose color. It looked like a
Yeah.
Pinot Noir
Yeah.
for that old.
Well, too, and also a lot of that was climate. You
Yeah,
know, it
yeah,
was
yeah,
much,
exactly.
much colder back then. Yeah, we had the exact same experience. We had a 1950 Chateau Gazin
Mhm.
for my birthday a couple of years ago. And when we opened it up, it was like the color was incredible. It was a just glowing ruby color, even after 73 years. And but light, like
Yep.
ethereal light, like really, really beautifully light. That property is now Chateau Petrus
Yeah.
because they sold most of their blue clay vineyards to Petrus in the 60s so that they could survive. They were running out of money. And that's probably the best bottle of wine I've ever had in my life. But you just see those kind of things is what gets me super excited about wine. You're literally drinking history in a glass.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable how the wine can last for so long. That's why I love to enjoy a bottle of wine. Whenever I buy wine, I always go for a case because I open a bottle like every 2 years or 3 years, whatever, just to see the evolution of it
Evolution, yeah.
and what direction it goes. Wine is alive.
Yeah.
I always say that is we need to treat a bottle of wine like it would be a person. Does have his own character. Is um, is a human being.
Yeah.
In all sense, is born, is growing, and is dying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's actually and on top of it, wine has been made since the Romans. So it's been actually a brother for us humans. It's always been made, and this tradition has been going over and over every single year. So we can actually talk about it, and that's how is connection with the story in the past.
Yeah. And I think that's something that the average person doesn't really understand. Did a tasting this week actually with some younger people, and when I told them, you know, you can only make wine one day a year. When that grape is perfectly ripe, you have to pick it, press it, and make the wine right away. You can't delay. You can't go back at it again 3 months from now and try again. Like if you're making spirits, if you're making like anything grain alcohol, you can make that every single day of the year. Same with the beer. You make it any day of the year because you're using dry ingredients. It makes it easy.
Yeah.
But for something that is so perishable and so unique that you can only do it once every year.
Yeah.
And on that one day when it's perfect. And if you screw it up, you go bankrupt. That to me is why wine is so precious. It's an art form. It's absolutely an art form. And these people are so talented to be able to get the best expression out of something when you have hours to make that decision for the whole year. And that's it. Once that decision is made, you have to go for it. And if you screw it up,
that's on you.
That's on you. Right? And it's I think it's fascinating. The other part of that is that every time you open up a bottle, you get a snapshot of what the weather was like for that whole year.
Exactly.
Like a vintage year, like we see it all the time. A lot of the big commercial grocery store style wines, they're pretty much the same all the time. They're using a lot of additives in order to consistency.
To make the same product.
Yeah, so that's more, we call it the McDonald's of wine, right? Because consistency is how McDonald's built an empire.
Yeah.
You knew exactly what you're getting every time you went. And that's great. Awesome. Lots of people want that. But I always try to get people to understand that if your wine tastes exactly the same year in and year out, it's not really wine, right? That vintage variation is what makes wine special.
Yeah.
And understanding it, and I think too, appreciating it, because a lot of people, it's become kind of weird lately that wine's become more of a financial commodity than it is actually a social beverage. And that's disappointing, because we talk about all the time. Young people who want to get into the industry or whatever, they're at such a disadvantage. They'll never be able to, at least in the first 10 years or 15 years of their career, they're never going to be able to go and just buy a couple bottles of Petrus and just to try them and see how they go. You know, at $6,000 a bottle, you're not going to do that. You're not going to just go out and, you know, pick up a Latache and a Romanée Saint Vivant and try them side by side because you can. 30 years ago, you could do that. 30 years ago, you could afford it. Now you can't.
No.
And
I tried Petrus a couple of times, and I had the opportunity to try two vintages of Latache. That's it. Like, but because I've been working in a restaurant and
Yeah.
someone was buying it.
right.
But those bottles, they are quite rare. They are not affordable.
Yeah.
Affordable at all.
Yeah.
As you say, $6,000 for a bottle of wine just to try it, drink it. No.
Yeah. And you know, we have this conversation a lot, like the talking about the decline in wine sales and
Yeah.
all of that kind of thing. We have our opinions on what that is and why. What do you feel about it? Like, what are you seeing from the industry side, from your side? Is there really a decline, or is it something else?
Okay, I seen like people moving more. It was moving more into a bar and cocktail. So they're getting away from the wine a little bit, but still, like, it depends on the environment where you find yourself.
Right.
Um,
But they're not drinking less.
no, they're not.
They're
drinking,
just changing what they're drinking.
they are just changing what they're drinking. There is actually, in a few months, they are actually asking more for non-alcoholic wine, or they are asking for mocktails. So they are getting a bit more away from the alcohol, but still they are trying to find a way how to enjoy a beverage, a good quality beverage, but not using alcohol in it.
Right.
And
they're not going no alcohol like their whole life. They're just
no,
reducing the consumption.
reducing the consumption in this way.
Right.
Of course, there are some wineries that are already
A lot of them
adapting on it.
Yeah, a lot of them.
There are, you can see, like, lots of non-alcoholic wine around, or they try to produce their wines with low alcohol on it.
The only problem with that usually is that they're incredibly sweet.
Yeah,
They have
exactly,
a lot of sugar.
because the fermentation is not complete, But yeah, I think especially in the last couple of years, the way how to approach with beverage in general is been changing. It's been changing, and to be honest with you, I don't really know where it's trying to go. For sure, the non-alcoholic beverage is a huge thing right now, and that's why we're starting to add some non-alcoholic beverage also in our list, because people are asking for it.
Yeah.
Like non-alcoholic beer also.
Yeah, we're actually going to add non-alcoholic bubbles.
Yeah.
Because I find the bubbles tend to be the highest quality.
Yeah.
Because the bubbles give you a sense of structure that you don't necessarily get without the bubbles, unless you're adding sugar.
Mhm.
So we've had some really fantastic stuff where it's actually real wine that has been de-alcoholized.
Yeah.
And then they do the bubble fermentation. So it's basically exactly the same method as champagne, only without the alcohol.
Yeah.
And it's been incredibly successful for a lot of people right now. It's a growing market for sure. I'm wondering, like, is it that what we were talking about with this rise of these financial wines, is it that people are shifting away from wine because they don't want to drink wine? Or is it that people can't afford to make a mistake and they don't want to spend that level of money on a wine they've never had and don't know and are afraid they won't like it?
So if we are talking about consumption of wine, we are talking about also quantity. Okay.
Right.
So I believe people, they are not going to drink wine on a daily basis. They're trying to move to or drink the wine occasionally, but with quality.
Right.
So I've seen this kind of movement. So they're not going for an average bottle of wine, they go for a good one, but once in a while.
Right.
Which I seen from the sales report which I run in Atlantis. we can see like that there is an increase on people moving on more expensive bottle, but the quantity of bottles that we sell is like a bit less.
Right.
Okay. Which I'm not saying that people are spending less money, but they are actually investing in more quality, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing in the way that we were choosing wines in the last year or 2 years. When we pitched it actually to Atlantis, it was about the premiumization of wine.
Yeah,
And just if you don't have the money or you don't want to consume that much alcohol, then at least you're going to go for something that has a great story, that you know is high quality, that is
Exactly.
going to give you an experience. We want wines to become experiential,
Yeah.
where people feel like they're actually doing something with that time, with that wine, and it meant something to them. And I think that's, again, it's you can't do that with beer, right? Like there's well, I mean, yeah, maybe there is, and I just really haven't really had the opportunity. But there's very little thing that's going to make me think there's experiential beer out there. And maybe there is, but it's not necessarily the beer that's the experience. It's where you are, who you're with, all of that kind of thing. Like,
Same
for
environment, yeah.
example, when we used to go to Pro Wine all the time in Dusseldorf, and there you go to one of those traditional German taverns where they're literally cracking the barrel right in front of you, and the barrel never shuts off, and they're just doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of glasses of beer constantly. And you know, your bill is your coaster. They just put another notch on your coaster, and then you give the guy the coaster, and that's your bill, right? That's experiential, but the beer not necessarily, right? It's not the beer that's making me go, "Wow, this is incredible." It's the experience, the room, the noise, the ambiance, all that's happening, and just happened to be the beer was what we were drinking.
Yeah,
But I think wine has the ability to be the experience.
absolutely. Whenever you, as we say before, wine is giving you everything you need, and every type of flavor is giving you is make you travel sitting down on the table all around the world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of magic, I would say. So
And now, you know, as climate's changing a lot, you're seeing wines that we've never seen before, you know, hybrid grapes,
Yeah.
kiwis, grapes that are being planted and wines being made in places like Denmark, Norway,
exactly, it's
Sweden.
been increasing also the production in UK for
Yeah.
the sparkling wine,
Yeah.
because it looks like Champagne region is moving on the north side.
Yeah, yeah.
And also most of the classic regions like Bordeaux, they are trying to focus on different grape variety more than a Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, because
They need them to get lighter.
exactly. So they are looking at Carmenère, Malbec, which they are more resistant also on mold. And you know, there are different approach, and the things are always changing. So that's why it's also wine get you motivated, because you never finish to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because generationally you're seeing people drinking wine for different reasons. Right? The 60 plus, they are so set in what it is they want for the most part. I mean, there's some people who are really you know, open to doing different things, but we know a lot of people that they're not drinking Burgundy, they want Bordeaux, right? And the young people, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
They want Burgundy because it's experiential. You have this bottle from this producer, then you have this bottle from the same producer that was produced 50 feet away, and it's a completely different bottle. And that experiential part of it is what young people are searching for. Whereas we're finding the 65s and over are going back to their classic name Bordeaux's, you know, the big structured wines. And most of those wines are, you know, they're so heavy, they're so big. In our market, it's very difficult. I mean, I love a big Bordeaux now. I love a big Bordeaux, but at the same time, I love the fact that you can have so many different options and explore all of these different options. And that's always why I get this weird kind of like, what are you doing when people just the same thing every single time? We have people who come into the wine shop, and I know their order before they walk in the door. And it's the same every single week. Every single week. They never stretch outside of that one wine that they like.
You should say you should dye the wine and then try to convince them to drink something else from you.
Yeah, I mean it's funny, right? Like people who have this incredible commitment to one single grape. I'm like, really, really? There's a lot out there besides this
Yeah.
Sauvignon Blanc, you know. But I mean, whatever makes people happy, as long as people are drinking wine, you know, that's what it's all about.
If no one also a big discussion is about Riesling. You know, Riesling is always like people are or they are scared about it or
I think it's sweet.
because they think it's sweet, but there are so many trocken Riesling that they are delicious. And actually, for me, Riesling is one of the most interesting variety to taste
Yeah.
because it can be
It's super
like
flexible.
it's flexible. It's a gastronomic variety also. You can choose different types of sweetness in it, from the very dry one to the very sweet one, and you know, and the flavor profile of the wine can change so dramatically also. And on top of it, the aging process of the power of these wines is unbelievable. Can age for so long.
Yeah, especially with a little bit of sugar in it.
Yeah,
I mean, they're bulletproof. They have a little bit of
Absolutely.
sugar. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Riesling obviously being one of our favorite grapes. When you represent as many Austrian wineries as we do, we tend to drink a lot of Riesling. I totally think Riesling is probably the most underrated grape in North America. I think it's more widely accepted as being more than just a sweet wine in
Yeah.
Europe. But in North America, for sure, it is perceived as being sweet most of the time. And that's probably because most of the Rieslings being produced in Canada and in the United States do have a lot of residual sugar in them.
Yeah.
They're not dry, mineral, racy acidity. They're not like that. Although there are people that are making them. They're just a little bit more few and far between. Well, this is awesome. I thank you very much, man. I appreciate you for coming. I appreciate
Thank you for the chat.
sitting down with me. And yeah, we'll definitely get you to come back again, and we'll see what else you've got going on at the big resort.
Whenever you want. I'm always available, of course. Come to see me in Atlantis.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely worth it. Go to Atlantis to the Cove side and check out fish and Paranza and Kosawan's still there for a little while longer as a pop-up.
It's a pop-up, yeah.
And then we'll probably switch into something else. But there's always a lot going on over there. We're not gonna spill the beans, but there's always stuff going on there.
A few new project coming. We will keep you updated. Let's say that.
And if you've never been to Atlantis, it really is one of those once in a lifetime things. You have to go and check it out. You have to see it for yourself. It is a feat of engineering. It's one of the most incredible things you'll ever witness. So please do go and visit them. And in the meantime, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Tim.
And we'll see the rest of you the next time we unbottle another story. Cheers.